Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hanson, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all on this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure in life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. Hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. This is Rick Hanson, and guess who I'm with tonight? But none other than Ricky Brule, who has been hiding, or I don't know. No, actually, he's not been hiding. He has become a movie star on me, and so I guess I'm kind of being left out here, in the dirt and the dust, but we'll see what happens tonight, I thought we'll just catch up with Ricky here. If you want to see him, you can go watch, what show was that? It was like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. It's Gone with the Wind. I sport a really cool mustache and some old clothes from like the 1800s.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back. I'm really excited. Actually, it has been way too long. I've missed the conversations, and yeah, life just got busy, and then an opportunity had come about that we had talked about last spring, and it kind of blew up into something much bigger than we ever could have possibly anticipated. And, in the beginning, it was just going to be, I'm going on a hunt and, hey, let's get a camera to follow me around. And then it turned into a videographer and a photographer and then a bunch of sponsors. And so it kind of went nuts. But in any case, that's actually only been a small portion of what's been going on. Most of which has been stuff through Vapor Trail. We just moved to a new location. It was just crazy getting our pro shop going. That was like 6 months, I think, from beginning to end. We're finally locked in on that and finally done with that. And then, family stuff, of course. But yeah, it's really good to be back. And yeah, I was over here with FOMO watching you take the helm on Don't Die Rusty and just thinking, man, I love it though. I mean, it's been fantastic to watch you take the reins and really just, bring Don't Die Rusty into the world and push it forward and keep it moving. So great job with that. It's been fun to watch, and I'm glad to be back, and hopefully I can jump in some more episodes here from time to time.
Well, I do too. It's been a long road here since you've been gone, but I've had some. I mean, you've been doing some of the backside stuff, so you hear what's going on, and you see what's going on. But these conversations that I've been lucky enough to have, we've talked about this before, and you don't know how they affect you until you have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is we've had conversations right now. I was just actually watching. We've had some interesting conversations with some people, like Lori Ellis. I was supposed to have a conversation with her about other things, which we will have to have another one because you just get talking. You know how you talk to me, and yeah, we get off track, but it really wasn't off track. It was more. I thought that one was inspirational. I mean, this isn't a recap of things, but I've had some great conversations, I guess, and for you not to be a part of them is, but we keep on moving the Don't Die Rusty needle forward anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, and part of and we kind of talked about this in the beginning when we got started. And I remember telling you one of the more difficult things and frustrating things about running a podcast is scheduling of guests, and then, trying to get everything to come together. The more guests that you have, or the more people that you have on the show, the more intricacies there are when it comes to getting everybody on the same page and getting everybody at the same time. And it's tough, and then again, like for me, I can't record until a little bit later, and then I'm central and you're in a different time zone as well. And so there's some of those things that make it somewhat difficult. And so, it was getting kind of kind of hard for us to come together with some of these guests because you get some people that are on the East Coast that by the time we can record it's 9:30 their time, for me
Yeah.
to be on an episode. So it got really difficult to do that. And so, it helped. I feel like it helped in the respect that, you were more available. Your times to record were more readily available for your guests. And so I'm certain that helped out quite a bit. I did so many different conversations that would have been great to be a part of, but again, it's just the way that it is. Right. And, I really identified with that episode that you put out about getting the funk out because I was really, really feeling it at the same time. And I wish I could have been part of some of those conversations with you, just to kind of relate a little bit. The winter blues, man, they hit you, and it's tough to kind of get out of it, and you need to have those people around you to help you get through it. So, and then just conversations, Paul Lynn, Joe Ernst, Justin Nault, he's an interesting individual too.
Yeah.
It would have been great to have a conversation with him. Of course, Matt Fry, me and him, we go way back, and some of the more recent ones, of course, Dr. Ray Jensen, just a great guy all around. Would have been great to have a conversation with him again. And I always love having conversations with Kelly. I mean, he's so just well spoken and just articulate, and so like I feel like I gain a lot from having conversations with him too. So I really have missed out a lot, and you and I haven't had a lot of time to even really chat and connect even outside of any of this. So it's really good to be back. I'm really excited, and we'll keep pushing this thing forward, man.
Yeah, and I also wanted to get, I mean, we've been able to have those other conversations with, like Kyle Craft is now, he's in the lead in the Baja stuff, and it is
Oh
amazing to watch. And to think that we've got to have an opportunity, and we might have to have him on here. I just saw he won another race and as navigator, but it's
yeah.
fun to see that stuff. And then we got Emily just got second in Spain, and I'm going to go out there and watch the Western States, and Lindsay. It's all been good. But here we'll get to when we were talking about the funk, and I think I try to be this open book,
Mm-hmm.
and because I really have nothing to hide, but I want to bring things to light for anybody out there. But on Wednesday, I went and saw a functional doctor, and I'm going to have some blood tests done, and then we're going to decide, am I low on this, or how to eat a little bit better, or whatever I need to do to be,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel that I'm 3/4 of the Rick that I should be, if
Mm-hmm.
not a little less, and I'm hoping that this will help me because I think I want to get to the root of the problem. We've talked about that before. And I'm working on the doctor that I went and saw and said, you know what? Why don't you come on?
Yeah.
And I think I think she's thinking about it. You know, I'm not the only one. You're talking about this winter funk, and I've never talked to so many people that have had this, like, they're just tired and they're just stressed and they're not their normal selves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, and Cindy knows me enough that when I said I don't feel normal, and people will probably that know me will probably say you've never been normal, but but health wise, though, I just felt I lost the wheel or the energy, or I don't know what it was, and I'm trying to find this out. And I think, and I'm not saying everybody has to go to a functional doctor, and I'm not saying you got to make the decisions for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to give people an option. And so when after I get these blood tests done, I'm going to go back and see her, of course, and I hope she will come on so we can. I don't want people to fear. I want people to look at things and say, you know what? Because here's the deal. Other deal we talked about when I went to the functional doctor, and we'll get going on other things. But most people that go to the regular doctor have something wrong with them. They're all trying to find. Everybody wants that pill to get better. They don't want to find the root of the problem, and the doctor will give them a pill, and they'll get the symptom will feel better, but the root of the problem isn't better. To me, this is my opinion, and I just want to show that yes, there's options. You got to go through the gamut of things to make me feel better, but I want to be optimal. I don't want to be just the average. I don't You're getting old, you're going to die. I want to come out of this life just like my body better be like a train wreck when I get done here, because in the aspect of I only have this one body. I want to take care of it. But what I'm saying about it is when I get to 80, 90 years old, it's going to not be rusty, but it'll be wore out,
You want to know you used it. Yeah, you're a
I,
little
I
beat up
do.
and battered. You got to be. If you come rolling into the grave all polished and shiny, then I don't know. Did you use it?
Exactly. And so those are the things but I want to bring light to it. I don't,
Mhm.
and if it, I mean, this is a lot of people are starting to find functional medicine, but I'm just saying, I mean, I've had those conversations with Dr. Jensen, like we talked about in
Mhm.
the last episode, and I do think there's a medical pharma machine out there, and I just want to try to fix myself somehow, you know,
Yeah,
differently.
yeah. So I'm
So,
curious, specifically, what does a functional doctor do?
well, we talked. I mean, this is no HIPAA because this is Ricka, but we talked about how I ate. We talked about medical histories. We talked about sleep. We talked about like as we grow older, and that was also in Justin Nolt's. As we grow older, it's not. I want to. My testosterone levels right now are low, but if you were going to a medical doctor, they're still in the green. Okay.
Hmm.
But they could be higher,
Hmm.
which helps with health. It helps with your mind. It helps with your health. It helps. I'm not trying to become Arnold Schwarzenegger at 57. This isn't what it's about. It's about being optimal. I want to be able to do the things and have the energy and the mental clarity to go do the things I want to do. And the functional doctor, like she was looking at all my, like I had some blood tests done before because I
Hmm.
had a physical earlier this year, but then we went into some different blood tests that I got to do, and then we will figure out if I need testosterone, if I need to worry about a thyroid problem, if that kind of stuff. We look into, like, she was happy, about some of the stuff that I eat, and she was unhappy with some of the other stuff I eat. But
Hmm.
I mean, I told her I'm not going to stop living, but you know me. I mean, yes, we go out and have a bull rider when we see each other, maybe, but I'm not the drinker anyway,
Hmm.
and I told her, I also said, you know, when I tell myself to quit doing something, I'm going less than moderation actually, with like a Coke or
Hmm.
Mountain Dew. I may drink it when I go out to eat, but I'm not, there's none in the house.
Hmm.
And so what I'm saying is I've limited that. I'm limiting probably sugar as best as possible. I'm just trying, and I'm not saying I'm eliminating it. I'm saying I'm limiting it. And I'm not, I'm not 25 anymore. I can't live on junk food and all that stuff. And it's not that I want to live longer. I want to live better.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting to me because I've been reading other books, but we'll get to the functional. The functional part, though, is so we're going to go through my blood tests and we'll determine what I need. And I'm thinking about this, Ricky, and you can say this while we're on. But if she comes on and we talk about it, I would like to go. I don't think it's fair to give it. 2 weeks and have a podcast about, oh, I'm feeling like wonderful now. I think we get to the end of a month, because I think
Mm-hmm.
if whatever I was prescribed, if I start eating, and tell people how I feel. But I'm not going to say you need to go do this. It's like whatever else, this isn't somebody saying you need to go use all this stuff and you'll feel way better. It's I went to a doctor. This is what they told me to eat. They're big on hydration, which is amazing to me in some aspects, because we had this talk, and then I don't know, Dr. Jensen and I have had more talks about, like, when we were even maybe 100 years ago, we didn't eat morning, noon, and night.
You just eat when you're hungry.
Eat when you're hungry. But today, everybody's pushing food, and you have your set times. And it's amazing how the mind goes, because I used to work with a guy, and he could eat something, and 10 minutes later, he felt just wonderful. I'm saying, you didn't even get it digested, man. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, we're just looking at things. I'm trying to get. She said, you aren't going to believe this, but and I was trying to lose weight, and I've lost 10 pounds.
Oh, good.
But I was doing it, and she was happy that I did it. And, I said, I'm not a wrestler. I didn't just go not eat, and I lost 10 pounds in
Throw
2
your
days kind of thing.
just run around the local strip mall or something.
Yeah. We talked about a lot of stuff, and it was good. So I'm going to keep on trying, but I didn't eat I needed to eat more protein than I was eating. And because I have protein, but, I was drinking protein shakes that has more sugar in it than you should. And I'm not against sugar. I need something to keep me sweet, but I'm saying that,
Sweeter than you.
yeah, she made me happy though, because she said, I said, here's the deal, and I'm not a fish eater, and I'll eat chicken, but it's not my favorite. I'm a red meat kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's fine. Just keep on eating, just eat a little more red meat than I was. And I'm not saying I wasn't eating red meat, because I have to have it every day just about. But what I'm saying is, like, I was just limiting on a lot of stuff, thinking I needed to be a vegetarian type, more lettuces and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I was eating vegetables and stuff, but,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, more than the meat and potatoes person, I was
Yeah.
trying just to lose weight, and that was wrong. And so I'm happy to be back. I was eating I like my red meat mostly at night, but now I'm back to being able, like, not being able to, but I'm eating, like, in lunch, I believe lunch and supper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just not a big morning breakfast. I like breakfast at times, but then I'm not going to eat lunch if I have a regular breakfast, say pancakes, bacon, whatever. If you're
Right.
going to have that kind, I'm not going to eat
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not a big breakfast guy. I'm typically like kind of on the run anyways, so I got, grab a protein bar, or some fig bars or something, and I'll eat them in the car on my way to work, or whatever. But yeah, I'm with you on, all those kinds of things, as far as like trying to pivot and try to be healthier. And, I know you mentioned in the last episode with Lacey, and you had listened to the Range podcast episode that I did not too long ago, and I'm going on, today will be 83 days without alcohol. And so the day after ATA show, that was it. Done. And again, so I have some NAs, and I think they have like 0.05% alcohol. So I can't say 100%, right? But and it's been good, but at the same time, it's one of those deals where part of my motivation was I wanted to find out if all these people that say it's absolutely amazing are full of shit, so there's good things about it, but then at the same time, it doesn't mean that the sucky stuff of life doesn't still come at you. You know what I mean? and it's
Mm-hmm.
harder to deal with. It's harder to handle because you have to sit in it and you have to deal with it. You can't just go to grab a shot, to kind of smooth it over, or those kinds of things. I'm not a smoker. I don't do any of that kind of stuff, so it's not like I'm gonna go, smoke a dart and calm down and relax. It's just so again, it's one of those things where just trying to kind of figure that out. You talked about how the sleep is better. Certainly that is there. But again, like as far as the way that I feel, like when I wake up in the mornings, I just feel like I'm not quite there yet. And again, I don't know if it's just because I need to, I plan to continue this on for the foreseeable future, who knows, but I'm feeling like, okay, there's other things that I got to do, right? Because I'm not bringing in the extra carbohydrates that I would get from having, a beer a night or whatever it may be. And so then I replace that with donuts and, you know, other things. Right. And so, and if I don't, I'm already, $1.50, and if I'm not bringing something in, because I don't have a real strong appetite, I have a super, what's the word I'm looking for? High metabolism too. So I've got to be bringing in calories, otherwise I start looking, a little skin and bones, so it's like, and I do a lot of work, I do a lot of walking and a lot of moving, but I don't do a lot of heavy lifting or anything like that. So I'm not building muscle or anything. But yeah, so I was talking about maybe trying to reduce some of the carbohydrates, just because I feel like maybe it is having effect on my joints and things like that. We talked about that with Dr. Ray Jensen. And then we also talked to, Pat McCurry about that too, with, the old traditional carb load diet for, for marathon runners. And that's kind of more old school thinking now. And they're starting to find out that it certainly has an effect on arthritis and things of that nature. So working on that a little bit, but that's a tough one. It is a tough one. You know what I mean? Like, gosh, people bring donuts in, man. And I'm eating two for sure. Maybe not right away, but I'll have one right now. And then later on in the afternoon, I'll walk by that box and I'm like, it's been 5-6 hours. I can eat another one, So it's just,
I do.
and the water, you said water, right? Like I heard, what they say about statistics, but I heard something the other day and they said that if you're not properly hydrated, you lose 20% of your brain function, whatever. So whether it's 20% or 5% or any percent, it doesn't matter. It makes sense, right? Like if your body's not hydrated, it's not going to perform at its best that you possibly could. And so then I'm feeling like, okay, I need to drink more water. I need to drink more water. But then it seems like, and maybe you can relate to this, or maybe you might get a laugh out of this, but it seems like every year as I'm getting a little bit older, I feel like I have to pee like 50 times a day. Like I have to get up sometimes 2-3 times a night, where now I'm going, geez, do I got something going on with my prostate? Do I need to get checked out for that? What's going on here? And then you increase your fluid intake and now it's like, holy mackerel, So yeah, just talking about, I don't have the crutch anymore to kind of soothe some of the mental things that go on in the day-to-day process. And then and then the physical part of your body, and you're probably over there going, what do you know about that? I mean, we're 10 years apart, but it's just one of those things where, I think a lot about, Jared Fondy. He was the founder of Vapor Trail, and he died, God rest his soul, in his mid 40s. And that's where I'm at right now, And granted, he had a lot of stress, and he also was not very healthy. He was not careful about his health really at all, to my knowledge. And so, I guess with that thought, it's like, okay, well, I got a pretty good chance to get through my 40s, but still, I don't want to take that chance, so, and I want to feel good, so, but I still want to eat ice cream once in a while. I still want to have that donut once in a while. So,
And you're right on the donuts at work, but usually I see them. This is how I've been getting by sometimes. Usually I see them I walk in, like usually they're in some office, somebody brought something in. And I'll walk in, and then I'll look at it, and I'll walk away, and I'll give it a little time, hoping that people take the glaze because I don't like a chocolate donut. Then you walk in there, and people have taken every other donut, and there's still that glaze there, and then I'll have one.
Yeah.
I just, but like I said, it's not. And then like you said, if you come in the afternoon and there's another one sitting there, and it's like, daggone it. But that's about living life too.
Yeah.
You got to eat the good things. You got to live the good things. Did you hear about the bull rider that he actually got stepped on? The bull stepped on his neck.
Oh no.
He ran to the ambulance, and that's where he died.
Oof.
He's 24 years old. He's from Wyoming. That just happened recently, like last week, I think it was, last weekend. But where I'm going with this is we don't know if it's our time or not.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to have that donut, and I'm going to actually, I didn't have that donut this week. I went and had some ice cream. But we don't know. So we need to still enjoy life. And if it's our taste buds that help us enjoy life, then it's our taste buds. And I mean, I'm not saying that I won't have that occasional beer, but I'm not having it every night where it's taking away from me anything. But I just don't feel good after such things. Just I mean, for me, but I've trained my body otherwise.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where we're going. That's anyway. I mean, it's about living life and doing your best thing. Like you said, we mentioned you in Sober Cowboy, and that's very cool that you have gone that far. 70, and I think we're both learning from each other in that aspect.
Yeah.
That little things, and the little things add up to big things, and that's what the podcast has been about too since you've been gone. I mean, like every conversation we have, you might learn a little thing, and I'm happy that I've been able to keep these conversations going. Like you said, that though, you think you've lined up somebody, and then nobody shows up, and then you're just kind of in limbo.
Yeah. It can be frustrating for sure.
And I called my emergency standby, Lacey, because I said, can you do one? And she said, well, here's the deal. Whenever you need an emergency person, I'll come on. And I used my emergency person. So now we're running a little behind here, but I mean, that's all right. But
and then it seems like then all of a sudden you get a flood, right? Like a mountain man, Dan, just got in touch with us, and he's interested in getting on another episode, and then I think he recommended potentially one, maybe two more people for us.
Well, yeah, it was two, I think, and I need to. I hope she'd get back to us, and then I wish in this day and age, you know what I hate about this day and age? The worst thing about this day and age, and it's not so much the technology, it's about people not knowing if you're real or not. People not knowing if you're scamming them or not. And you know what I mean? Like a guy that I would really like to talk to is the outdoor therapist. And we were talking back and forth, but like in a little bit on IG. But my problem is I sent an email and it went with my Wapiti because anyway, and it didn't go with the Don't Die Rusty podcast email.
Yeah.
And how do you know if I'm real or not? And if you're listening, not that you would be, but I'll tag you, so maybe you will listen. But I really would like to have a conversation, but it's hard to get a hold of people that you think would be really, really cool to talk to, because I'm not trying to get shit, and I'm not trying to swear here, but I'm not trying to get shit from anybody. I just want to have this conversation. How many people have do you talk to? Like, Ricky has the Range podcast too. And Don't Die Rusty here. We both. But what I'm saying is, how many people do you look out there and say, I could be your friend? Or how many people out there do you say, I don't know, but here's the deal. If you don't have a conversation, how will you ever know?
Right.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to get anything from anybody except for a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like where we go, if you like what I say, then that's cool. But if you don't, that's fine too. But I would I don't know. It's just the toughest thing in the world
Mm-hmm.
to get, because I feel like I'm on Match again and trying to sell my soul.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is like that. And I've gotten, during this last 6 months or whatever, it's just been so busy on the day-to-day grind at Vapor Trail with everything, still having to do the day-to-day like we did before, but now there's all this other stuff we have to do, like pack up a 25,000 square foot building, like 6 of us do this, pack this thing up, move it into another building that's half the size, and then try to figure that out. Anyway, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. Is that you just get so busy with that. I don't even have time to like put thought into the types of questions that I want to ask guests, because I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to have them take time out of their day to come on my show, and then here I am, and I've got nothing. Like, I haven't done any research. I want to have something. Like, I can, I'm fairly decent, I think, at just kind of winging a conversation, but it's important to me that it has, a certain amount of substance so that they feel like I care about the conversation we're having. And so I feel like if I can't put in that time with that guest, then to me, I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. So then we just end up having conversations amongst ourselves, which is fine, and that works. But we don't get the same amount of listenership, because people really want to, there's certain people that they want to hear and they want to listen to. And so, and then not only that, but that's what kind of helps grow it, because you're getting their fans and their followers to come in and kind of see what we're about, and that's where we'll see a large uptick in engagement and followers, when we have our guests on. And that's not to say it's anything against you or against me or any, what I mean? It's just part of it,
I know. Yeah.
The data speaks for itself. I think we're both very articulate individuals, and I think we both have very good things to say, but it's like, we already have our people and they're already here listening, and we got to bring the people in from outside of the reaches. And that's where the guests help. And it's really tough to get everything to come together and have those conversations. And not only that, but like, think about Tommy Carroll, man. He's a perfect example. Like, the dude would be great to have on a podcast. He doesn't want to do it. And I respect that, but that's just how it is. There's people, and sorry, Tommy, to call you out. He might listen to this, but
I hope he does, because I talked to him the other day, and
I
hope he listens to this.
But it's
you
just
pansy.
I love it. But again, it's I try to talk to so many people, and it's not as intimidating as it seems. It's not live. We can edit if we need to. We try not to do a lot of that. We want to keep most of what the conversation we have there. But, I'll just, sometimes, like when I'm doing episodes of The Range, like there might be a question that I ask that will kind of lead to something else, but there might be a chunk of it that I cut out just because I feel like it doesn't have any context, or it's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't add to the conversation. So I'll just pull it out because it's more time that people have to listen to. And I don't want to do anything that would make them want to click away. But rarely do I have to do that kind of stuff. But I guess the point that I'm making is that it doesn't have to be, it's not intimidating. Literally, we're just chatting. We're just having a conversation. And at any point in time, if you're like, I'm not sure about that part that I just said, or I feel like, can I say that again? Cause I feel like I got some sort of statistic wrong. Cause I've done that so many times where, It's like I go back and listen to it and I'm like, wow, I got that number wrong or whatever it might be. But what do? It's already launched. It's already out there. So you're just, it is what it is. But again, it's just a conversation. We're just here chatting, and you don't have to throw your heart on your sleeve. You can talk about anything that you want to. You don't have to talk about everything. So yeah, it can be tough though to get those guests.
And especially like you with the range, you're more technologically, or depending on what you're talking about. But for me, it's more philosophical, where
Yeah.
if you're talking a bow or a string or
Mm-hmm.
some product that people want to know about, you have to have those questions more readily available.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'll start out a conversation with a question, and it doesn't matter. Then we're just having a conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
wherever it goes, it goes. But you're trying to get out some information too, as well as have the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes it a little more difficult at times to be. But I'm just, if you get anything from Don't Die Rusty that and see me in it, or Ricky actually too, but I'm not like and to some of our listeners out there that are younger, Match.com was a dating website that, and here's the funny story. Cindy and I met on Match, and we're married now. But here's the deal: you felt like you were selling your soul, and it was the worst place to be for me, and just got lucky. But anyway, and that's where I feel like sometimes you feel like I'm selling, like, go look at my Instagram, go look at my Facebook, listen to some of our episodes, because this is who we are. Come
Mm-hmm.
on now. I mean, I I feel honored when anybody asks me to be on a podcast or anything. I mean, look at look at Bucks and Bales, Ziggy Cortman.
Mm-hmm.
When both of us have been on, but when he messaged me and it was like, that was a great conversation and I enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
and those kind of things, being on the range, it's like we're just talking. I mean, it's amazing how you see the headsets on and you feel like you're a pilot and you're just sitting in the airplane talking, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe you don't relate to this as much as I do, but with as many as these we've done, the range is approaching 100 episodes, and we're on Don't Die Rusty is on
60.
almost 60. So, and I still get a little bit nervous, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'll see guests that don't do a lot of podcasts. You don't see it when you're doing it remote, but when I see them in person, I can see they're a little fidgety, a little shaky and stuff. And so it definitely kind of gets the nerves going a little bit, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it should, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, once the conversation starts to flow, and then I slowly start to see the guest kind of settle into their chair a little bit, lean back a little bit, and start to get comfortable. And I think that's our role as a host, to foster that type of environment, and ask the types of questions that are going to get them to kind of settle into their seat and feel more comfortable. And you're really good at that. And again, that's another thing that, we may need to start to preface when trying to find guests, is that I think that you do a really good job of, you're very calm, your voice is very soothing, and then, I think that would definitely help get some people settled in. Tom Carroll.
No, it's funny. Like, I mean, I talked to him last week, and it was just like, yeah, Tommy, you should be able to come on to
Mm-hmm.
either one of ours, and
Yeah.
it'd be fun. But I mean, so if anybody would want to be a guest that has a good story, because it's interesting, because I'm thinking I'm going to go back to a few other people that we've talked to before, and it's funny. Here's the other interesting thing, and I didn't know this was going to happen, but it did by doing this podcast. My friends have grown by 60 episodes. I understand I talk to the same people, but I have gained more friends and we stay in contact, and some of them I've never met. But it's funny because last 2 weeks ago I was in Cody and Matt Fry and his wife and I and Cindy went out for lunch.
That's
I'm
cool.
gonna put I'm and he sends me pictures and we're gonna be I'll post a picture of us at lunch, here
Hmm.
sometime soon. And then I'm going to go out to Western States, and then someday I'm going to go watch Lindsay run. And it's not about so much the running part; it's about the camaraderie.
Hmm.
Jerry Norton calls me, and we talk. We become friends,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
we stay in contact with a lot of people. Jordan Harbertson's going to do another one with us because. But here's the deal: we don't get enough. We talk for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, but we aren't done talking. So we need to have another episode with these guys and girls because we didn't get to the points we even wanted to get to
Yeah.
because they're interesting in so many aspects of life that
Hmm.
you can't you'd have to do a 24-hour podcast to get to some
Yeah.
of it.
Hmm. Yeah. I just recorded with Frank Welsh the other day, and we had to cut it a little bit short because we were talking about turkey hunting, and we were getting in. We didn't even get into. There's some details that I was like, boy, if we get into this, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole that this could be a 3 hour long episode. So we had to kind of cut it short, and so we're gonna record another one next week. So we'll have two parts, but. Yeah, once the conversation goes, once it gets going, it goes well. And so, and even if it's like stories, people love stories, and especially intriguing ones, where if you've got something that's happened. I mean, we have so many amazing stories, and it started the Don't Die Rusty podcast hit the ground running with Fiona Pierce, and
Yeah,
that's a fantastic story. And again, and just all the stories that have come through, Mina Bonhorst, that was, her story like had me absolutely. I mean, I'm on the road driving down the road and I'm just like in tears, you know what I mean? Like just, um, you know, amazing stories. Nothing that certain things that I would never wish upon somebody, but just
yeah,
to hear the miracles that happen and that occur, and just the good-willed people and the good-natured people that still exist is good to hear. And that's what we want. We want to just keep spreading this word about just living it up and not being afraid.
exactly. And it's funny there. I talked to Mina probably 2 weeks ago, maybe a little longer. We were just texting back and forth, and she said, the next episode we do with her is going to be with her son. And, he's after the whole story and he's in college, going back to college. I
Yeah.
mean, I love the stories like Lindsay Ulrich having a stroke and told she can't run and
Yeah.
she's running, and we have been so lucky in those aspects, and Tommy and Dara, and it does make me happy. And people ask me what's Don't Die Rusty about. I said sometimes I say it's hard to explain because we have so many different guests. Because when we started this, I said I never wanted to be pigeonholed into one lane.
Mhm.
I wanted to be wherever whatever good guest we could have on, whatever story we could tell to inspire somebody to be better or to turn that switch on, to move, to keep moving forward, to live their best life. And if one of them came out and had a quote or little in somebody got a little bit out of our conversation, because I mean I got the funk, even the funky one got some people text me and said this, like you just said it when we just started. It meant something because there were a lot of people going through a funk and they said thank you, and they were going
Very
through some
relatable.
medical issues too.
Hmm.
So yeah, but anyway, I'm I think I think I'm excited to keep on keeping on. It's just I got some guests coming on here, but we got to get to that point. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. But I know we got some good guests coming on here soon.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm hoping that I can, be a part of some of those. And again, like, if our schedules can't come together, you know,
Hmm.
that's just the way it is. But we always try our best, and I'm going to be making myself more available as well. So, I would love to get the Rick Tastics all back together again as well. Again, just
Oh,
conversations with Kelly and Ashley, and those are always amazing conversations. Those are some of my favorites.
yeah, and I think I have some questions about that stuff that to bring up to be part of those conversations, as it should say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm reading this book, and it's a good book. It's just it has given me thoughts. I and It's interesting. A quote in it said he wasn't afraid of death, but he was afraid of dying.
Mm. Hmm.
And in which I think the other question would be is you aren't afraid of life, but you're afraid of living.
Yeah. Mm. That's a good one. I
You,
feel like we could certainly have a very intriguing conversation around those questions for sure.
I do too, and because I see a lot of people out there that are afraid of death,
Mm-hmm.
but they aren't. I mean, some aren't afraid of dying, but they're afraid of death, and I maybe actually we might have that Rick Tastics talk next week anyway.
Yeah.
So if I can get us together,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be that question has been rolling around in my head on my walks in the early mornings, and I know I put out other stuff because I don't know how to word it the way I wanted to word it. Now I think we need to have that conversation, and I
Mm.
think the Rictastics would be the best people to do that with.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted to talk to I wanted to talk to Kelly because, like I said, I know it was selfish, but I wanted just to, him and I haven't had that conversation and that one-on-one conversation for a long time, and I just thought, let's just sit back and have that conversation. But I think if we got the Ricktastics together, and actually, when we get done with this, I'm going to send out a group text here, and we're going to set this up for next week because
Let's do it.
that question is kind of like the 24 hours to live because that's it. I know we've had some wonderful guests and some wonderful topics, but the 24 hours to live has hit more people than I ever thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, our guests have done the same, but that question pops up in the oddest places. Like I I I can't go anywhere that I'm not wearing a Don't Die Rusty something so somebody sees you and you go, "You listen to me? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know that," kind of stuff. And then that's one of the questions they said that one got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Or, our message here and there, but I think this one could get people thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think yeah, there was a lot of people that were, it really got the conversation going with me and my wife, and I think I had that conversation with a few of the guys at work too. It's just one of those deals, and then you think about, I don't want to get too much into detail, but this past week we had a little bit of a scare, with Susan, and it just really puts all of that into perspective, where you're just like, man, we really gotta start figuring this out, just to make sure that not only are we, we go through the motions, and it just, everything kind of becomes routine, and we got to make an intentional effort to enjoy life too. I mean, don't get me wrong, part of our day-to-day routine is family time, and spending time with the kids and trying to raise them differently than we were, try to give them a better upbringing, and so we want to be there for them. So that's super important, but we also got to take care of ourselves too. And we got to get out of the house, man. It's just been cabin fever in this place. It's like driving us nuts. So we've been having bonfires like almost every night, You know, we got a pile of wood back there that we've just been ripping through it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we've been hoarding it for some reason for like the last 4 years, like like we were going to run out or something. And now it's like, man, we just been, just trying to get out as much as possible. And today, we went for a long hike and went out and had some good food at a new restaurant that we haven't been to in a while. So it feels good. Feels good to get out and do some stuff.
Well, I am glad to hear that, because I listened to Lori Ellis. She had a 12-minute conversation today with, she put out a little episode for her podcast today, and it was about
Mm,
like changing your routine. And I never thought about some of the things that she talked about, but she's talked about like, don't go to work the same way you always go,
yeah,
because you
different
don't
route.
have to think. You know what I mean? Take a
Hmm.
different route. Just change up, just little things will change up how, because your mind then becomes, you know, the same.
Hmm.
Everything's easy. And then, it's just one of those things. And I was just I thought, you know what? I am going to change up how I go to work, cuz you when you don't use your brain, you don't use your brain.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
becomes, how did I get to work? Well, here I am, kind
Yeah.
of thing, you know what I mean?
It is amazing how that happens. And it's funny you say that because, like, just recently, this last week, I took a different route to work, but mostly because I was really feeling like a bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle sounded real good. So I needed to swing by a McDonald's on my way in, but it took me on a different route. And then I was like, yeah, that was kind of a fun route. I think I'm going to take that route again today. Just like you said, just kind of switch it up. But, and then going back to the routine, it made me think about, I think it was, yeah, you had introduced me to, it's Jim Quick, right?
Yep.
Jim Quick. And one of the things that he talks about is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning, you drink a glass of water. But then when you brush your teeth, you brush your teeth with your left hand instead of your right, because you have to focus on it. You actually have to make an effort to do it. And it actually gets your brain firing on on different cylinders. And so that it made me think about that when you're talking about changing the routine. So maybe that's something I got to start doing too, switching up, brushing my teeth with my left hand once in a while.
Well, and it's dark out when I get up in the morning. So I've just been doing the normal same 2.5 miles, knowing where I am and knowing how fast I need to go, instead of pushing myself at times where I just know.
Hmm.
Well, you know what? I'm going to start taking different routes now that I know I don't know. So
Hmm.
either I set my alarm on my phone, so I kind of know where I am, like w- at different times of my walk, so I know I have to speed up or slow down. But I'm not. I need to take a different route. I just thought, you know what? You just need to take that different route. It's kind of like when we climbed Crow Peak 100 times. It was like this was normal. Like
Hmm.
you can just you didn't have to think about things,
Yeah.
and because I did it so much, and that's kind of why I didn't want to do the 7 again, in the aspect of I've done it enough. I don't really. Maybe some other day I will do it, or we will do it again. But
Hmm.
I just like to think of new things to do because it keeps the mind going, and I want to keep the mind going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Mix it up for sure.
yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, but it's funny that you said bring up Jim Quick, because you know, Cindy brings up Jim bought his book,
Yeah. Yeah.
and after I had talked about it, so it's at least I get something going good there.
Hmm.
So I think
It's a
about
good
this,
book.
but you need. Here's another
Assuming
thing.
assuming we're talking about the same book.
I could go get it here. What is it? Now I'm trying to think of it.
I'm trying
I can see the
to
cover too.
I'm looking it up here right now.
Gosh
Yeah,
darn.
could probably read it
Quick,
again, honestly.
what is it?
Limitless.
Yep, that's it.
Upgrade your brain. Um, what the heck? I just had it there and it just disappeared. Where did it go? Learn anything faster. Yeah, upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and something is truncated, so I can't see the rest. But yeah, it's definitely a really good book.
But it was interesting that so at least she listens to some of the stuff I have to say too, and then she heard him on some other stuff. So I do know what I'm talking about. If you're married, you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. It is a bit of a long read, so I know a couple other people I know that have started it and haven't finished it, and yeah, it is a little bit of a grind, but it's good information.
Uh,
If you can, if you get into that sort of thing, it's pretty good stuff. Now,
yep.
only I could apply 10% of that in my daily life. That's the hard part, is applying all of the things that he recommends.
Well, it is, but I mean, it's one of those deals that, like, I mean, I like buying books and underlying them and stuff, and I thought I would enjoy the book I'm reading now, and I'm grinding through it.
Mm,
I don't want to say the author's name because I don't want to say I'm grinding through it, but I'm still going to grind through it. And it does have some interesting perspectives, but I thought it was going to be a different type of book. And anyway, but I'm learning, and that's where that quote came from. The he was afraid of dying, but not afraid of death kind of person.
mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that if I sent out as you just saw, I saw you look, I sent out the Ricktastics light, and hopefully everybody sees that. Let's get the band back together.
Yeah, for sure. We'll
So,
make it happen without a doubt.
so anything else going on besides being a movie star and everything else?
Yeah, no, just yeah, I guess the big thing right now is just getting back on track. And one of the big parts of this like hiatus that I kind of took is I have created a better routine. You know what I mean? That was one of the things that I was never really able to do. I had a hard time waking up early in the morning. Wake up, got 10 minutes to get to work, fly out the door, 90 miles an hour down the road, that kind of thing. Constantly paying the ADHD tax on everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so really just having to figure that stuff out. And so I've been much more consistent about getting to sleep at a reasonable time at night, waking up early. I'm actually challenging myself right now. I'm reading through the entire Bible, going to do it in under a year. So I'm quite a ways ahead right now, but just got into the book of Exodus, and this, so it's a Bible reading plan through the Bible app. So it doesn't go completely in chronological order, or I mean from cover to back cover, but it's it jumps around a little bit. It started with like the first couple books in Genesis, and then it shifted over to Job. And then back over to Genesis. Now I'm in Exodus. But anyway, so diving into that, I think that's been really kind of huge, just diving into the word daily, and that kind of helps keep me going, helps keep me kind, and remembering to not snap on all of my employees. And not to say that that's a huge problem, but it, there's times where it's like you think back and it's like, man, I feel like I could have handled that a little bit more articulately. And so, but yeah, so doing that, and then just getting geared up to do some turkey hunting. I know you're not real big into that, but turkey season is here. Me and Damon just went out yesterday, and I set up some blinds out at, I probably shouldn't mention where, but got a blind set up. We sat and watched 20 or 30 birds. Actually, yeah, that was just this morning. And then went back to the pro shop and recorded just a little bit of content talking about this year's setup and everything.
Mm-hmm.
For the vapor trail side of things. But so that's kind of what's going on right now. Coda's got some basketball. He's a basketball rock star, and he's 12 years old. So trying to figure out that, getting into middle school kind of popularity contest, like trying to dress snazzy and have the right hairdo and all that kind of stuff, so it's been fun to kind of have those conversations and talk to him about those kinds of things, but
Yep.
that's it. That's what's going on. How about with you? What's shiny in your world right now?
Well, We're going to go on a little hiking adventure tomorrow, going to Colorado to the hunt show on Friday. And Cindy's going to be a grandma.
Oh,
Well, I guess I'm going to be a grandpa too, but
yeah.
Cindy's going to be a grandma. And
Boy, they wasted no time, huh?
no. And you know, the best part about the whole thing about that is just like watching Cindy because she is excited. Like,
Yeah.
I have these things. Who was I talking to? I can't remember, but I mean, I haven't been through this stuff. I was talking to a kid that I work with, and he's having a baby, and he's pretty calm about the whole situation. But I said, I've never ever been in that situation, so it's tough for me for the excitement part because not that I'm not excited for them, but Cindy is so excited to be a grandma. It's unbelievable, and
Yeah.
so that is fun.
Well, and I think part of that is, it's that maternal instinct, but I think you're gonna be a really great grandpa. And congratulations. I think it is. It's a big deal, man. It's bigger than you think, I think. And when I think you're gonna have a blast with it,
Yeah.
and you get to just skip right to the having fun with them. You don't have to, you probably won't even have to change a diaper.
I better not. So I don't want to ruin my record.
Yeah, there you go. Going for the high score.
Yeah. But I mean, so that's
Yeah,
very, very exciting.
that's really exciting.
Just trying to make things work and keep things moving. And, I mean, you heard it in a few of the episodes. You and I chatted just a little bit. I mean, I'm excited about being excited, keep moving forward because I was getting a little tired of, because people don't understand what you do. I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm trying to get my post out, trying to get a Don't Die Rusty something out. And then you go to work and it's funny. We were talking about the doctor and she says, "Are you tired?" I said, "Well, should I be tired? I mean, you know what I mean? You're getting up
Hmm.
at 4:30 in the morning. I come home from work and you just, maybe that's me, but you're just one of those deals. I mean, it's nothing. It's just like, but I love what's going on and I love what we do. So that is starting to shine more, we'll say again.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's
Um, so anyway, but
yeah.
luckily, if I don't want anybody to hear this, I would cut that out, but I won't cut this out. Anyway, but no, life is good. Life is good. We all go through a lot of stuff in life, and we just need to learn that we all go through stuff in life.
Yeah. There's always a bumps in the roads, and it kind of made me think a little bit when you were talking earlier, just about there's that ADHD tax again. Gone. Thought gone. You don't have to edit that out either. This happens more than people know, but yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but no, I think we got some things going on here. Anyway, life is good. So
Yeah.
I sent out the text of the Rictastics. Hopefully, you guys will hear the Rictastics next week. We'll see what everybody is up to and go from there, and probably chat with everybody maybe next time. And
Yeah.
I think life is going good so far.
Hmm. Yeah, and big thanks to anybody who's listening to this episode and that's gotten all the way through to this point. We really appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much for listening. And we hope that you continue to listen. And please be in touch. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to.
Exactly. And please, I know this isn't a 5-star probably episode, but listen to some of our other episodes because they are 5-star. And if the band gets back together, I can guarantee that that question that we proposed earlier will be a heck of a conversation.
Absolutely. Yep. So keep watching or listening or
Yep. So anyway, don't die Rusty Nation. Keep chasing your dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die Rusty.
Thank you for listening to the Don't Die Rusty podcast with your hosts Rick Hanson and Ricky Brule. The Don't Die Rusty podcast is written and produced by Rick Hanson and Ricky Brule. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at Don't Die Rusty. You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question for the Ricks? Send us an email at don'tdierusty@gmail.com. It too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Don't Die Rusty podcast wherever fine podcasts are downloaded.